What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Racing Bros podcast. We're here with Cody, as typical.
Hello, how you doing?
And then we have 2 special guests with us this time. Also in the Bros, we have Isaiah.
How's it going?
And we have Nick.
What's up?
Alright, so let's just jump right into this. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Well, we might, actually. If you watched the last episode, or listened to the last episode, we discussed the Ford driver development announcement, and we made a very bold prediction that it'd be Hailie Deegan. And surprise, it ended up being Hailie Deegan. So, what do y'all?
Toot, we got it right.
Yeah, we're 1 for 1 on those bold predictions this podcast. So
now will I make the Daniel Suarez never making NASCAR again? Will that one be right?
I don't know if you listen to Sunday Money today. It sounds like the money might have dried up.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So, what are your thoughts on the whole Hailie Deegan going to the Ford situation? Oh, God.
Well, she has a lot of room to grow there, and that's the good thing with Ford is she'll be able to go up through the ranks where Toyota, I feel like she would have been limited once she got up to Xfinity, especially like we were talking about with the pay-to-drive guys there now. They're kind of taking up space, so with Ford, there's plenty of room to develop, and then with her career path, it's right around where some of the older guys like Harvick might be able to retire. So it'd be kind of cool to see her. She's going to be the rival to Chase Elliott is my bold prediction of the episode.
I feel like no matter what manufacturer she was with, they would make room for her. Like
Even Toyota,
by the time she gets to Cup, like Denny, Truex, they're going to be long gone.
I mean, I think
they have other guys.
I mean, they have Harrison Burton.
Yeah, we did go over that last time, how great Toyota's doing.
Like, everyone else got stolen. Like, if Noah Gragson was just held on for a damn year, he'd be, like, next in line. And, like, I don't know.
It would have been much better if Toyota had more spaces for her, because I mean, as far as Cup goes, they're definitely the best out of everybody, but, I mean...
Do you think they'll still be the best in 10 years, though? Or not 10 years?
That's the question. With the new car coming out, Ford may be better than it is now, so it may be a good thing in the future.
I'm kind of excited for the reset that's going to happen with the new car, because I know our boy Brayson over here is a big Toyota fan, but it'd be kind of cool to see some other people up front more than just Toyota.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't agree.
I really think that it needs to change a little bit because they got such an advantage, it seems like, at least. I mean, you got Chevys seem to be pretty good on super speedways, but other than that, they're like irrelevant. Ford's okay, but Toyota just dominates everything.
Ford was more than okay last year. It's just when you take one of the top 10 drivers away from your equipment and helping it get better, and you put Daniel's Amigos in it, and then they can't really. It hurt the development of the team, in my opinion, when you go from being a team that had everybody win and now... I mean, you could see the fall off of Ford, especially SHR from this year.
Yeah.
Was Ford really that good last year? Because I'm trying to think. Other than Blaney's won at Talladega in the fall, like Harvick won like 4 races, but that's to be expected.
I'm talking about 2018 season.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about when SHR, every driver had a win. I'm talking about when Kurt was still in the 41.
Yeah, even Eric Almirola had a win. You know that team's really good then. Jesus.
That's what I'm saying, is that was like a powerhouse team, and then they go out there and just lay... I mean, in relative terms, lay an egg. I mean, they're not as bad as some Chevy teams like RCR, but...
I'm kind of wondering if Chevy is going to have kind of an advantage here, at least RCR in general, because they are the ones that are producing this car. The car is obviously built off of a Chevy, at least it looks like a Chevy. So I don't really understand. I don't know if they're going to be.
Well, I don't know if they're producing the car, because I'm
pretty sure what's happening is they're like a whole bunch of people are making one, and RCR is just one of the people like doing it.
I know Gibbs is a heavy favorite to be the one that if they decide to go from somebody to make all the cars and like each team has to buy him. I saw on Twitter there for a while, and I think Eric made a video about how it was. Toyota was the favorite to make all the cars. Well, not Toyota, but Gibbs.
Well, it's going to be one team, but the bodies and engines will probably still be built by the manufacturer. So
you think the engines will be too?
Of course,
yeah, I would assume. They won't go away from that because that's part of the manufacturer deal.
I wonder if they'll actually really force like specs, or if they'll make it like a crate motor will be, where it's. That's how I think it might turn into. I mean, No, it didn't. But
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people's argument is it worked for like 99% of the year. It just failed in the most important part of the year. But
There was still over 20 engine failures last season in trucks. So like you can blame the Las Vegas playoff race where like 3 ThorSport trucks blew a motor like at the exact same time. But
well,
it was a long like there were so many engine changes before the race that don't even really get factored in. Like you don't
Sure.
change
I
an
could
engine if it's
see-
really good.
I could see like individual manufacturers like making their Chevy teams all have exactly the same engines, and Toyota all
yeah.
have exactly the same. But they're going to be different because that's just how that works.
You don't think that'd be
So,
a
like, a
series
Chevy
wide crate
crate.
engine?
No, it would just
Definitely-
be a bad idea.
Definitely not at the top series.
Yeah.
Well,
At
we already
least
have
that
something
truck.
for NASCAR to be in charge of.
Be interested to see if they go towards Xfinity and see if it has any success there.
Had
Yeah.
success in
'Cause
trucks,
if it-
man. I think they should
I
just get
mean-
away from that ASAP.
But it
Well-
cut costs down a lot for the truck teams, is what
It does, but
saying.
like, when you get one that blows up, the rest of them are probably going to do the same, and then you blame NASCAR for it, and that's not really a good way to go about it.
See, I'm not for the crate motors. I just think it's the way they're gonna probably go. I think
Yeah.
you should let the teams do what they want to do to follow the rules or whatever. But there's got to be some kind of team loyalty to I built this, I put this together, we want to win in it. But I have a bad feeling that they're gonna go towards crate.
You know why I
I-
think they won't do that?
Why?
Part of the reason, or like the main reason why we're at 550 horsepower now, is because it's more like appealing to outside manufacturers to come in.
Right?
So why would they make a crate engine that they can't even build their own motor
that would
if
help-
they're worried
that
about the
would help.
horsepower?
That would help other manufacturers come in. It's really then you're just putting a body that looks like your manufacturer, so you're not really having to put a lot of money into the sport.
Yeah, but
It
I'm
would
sure
take-
more of the fun of a
that would
manufacturer
take-
joining is just having like 100% their stuff out there. You know what I mean?
You have to have some pride in it. They won't come if they're like not proving anything about their vehicles. If you're just putting everybody has the same engine in your car and everybody has the same chassis, you just put a different body on it. Where is that going to be?
Yeah, I think, well, because correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but in the 80s, it's not like it was specific to like, yeah, they had the Chevy emblem, but it was like not. It wasn't what you were buying on Sundays. You were buying the car because that's the car that won, but it wasn't the actual car. Like when you look at the old stock cars, a stock car wasn't what was rolling around on the streets bringing your kids to school.
Stock cars have never
No.
really been stock.
Right.
Well, that's kind of the whole idea of racing. But
So, but then why would it matter for other manufacturers? Because that's what a Chevy Monte Carlo, it had the nose of a Monte Carlo and maybe the rear bumper of a Monte Carlo. But when it's sold at the Monte Carlo off the dealership lot, where is it really what you were running on Sunday?
I don't think the whole point of it's to be like exactly like the show car. I think it's supposed to be like a more badass version of the show car.
Yeah.
that's
All
basically
right,
what they
I
were
get that.
then. They were using the teams were building their chassis and making all that stuff their own.
Right.
But as far as the engine and the body were going, the body was still a steel body off of one of those cars that had been beefed up.
So
to
the
make
engine was
aerodynamic.
pretty much coming from Chevy. All right.
Yeah, they were telling
That
them
would
what to
make
do.
sense.
Back then, it was a lot more of like building it to make it incredibly fast and basically breaking every rule you could without getting caught. But
All the gray areas for sure.
yeah,
I think for the most part they won't go to the spec engines, but for the lower budget teams, they'll take the spec engine because it'll be cheaper, of course.
Do you
But I
think
don't
the
think
spec
they'll go
engine will
full.
compete though? If
Well, it all depends if how they do with the rules. Because if they change the weight and whatnots, they can work around that way to make them faster. But I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll do spec engines just to keep the cost down, so they can run more races, which will equal more money, which means they could.
and maybe they'll still
Eventually
get like
buy.
30 times and it won't matter too much in the grand scheme of things.
basically the best idea would be to limit the kind of parts you could put into the engines to keep
Mhm.
the cost down.
Like
Because
a
that
spinning
way
cap?
they could still do what they want, but not make them crazy.
So you're talking about like a spinning cap.
Yeah, basically.
Which
And that's
would
what
be
the horsepower cap pretty much is, but it doesn't. You can still do a lot of things to an engine to keep it under that horsepower and make more power.
If they do a spending cap, that would be very interesting. How would they enforce like That's a whole other bunny rabbit hole. I don't know if you want to go down, Brayson.
I don't know, man. What are your
I
thoughts
don't know
on?
if they do it like a spending cap, but the type of parts you could put into
Yeah,
it.
that's what you would do.
It's not
So
if
they
you
can
could
tear
only
them
spend
apart and
$500
find
on
something
this motor.
illegal.
It'd be
I'd be for a spending cap. I mean, there's a salary cap in almost every other professional sport, but I don't know if we really want to go down that rabbit hole. That's why I said maybe a different
A
time.
salary cap for
Yeah.
Cup teams would actually be pretty legit, though.
That's I agree, because then you're limiting the spending. You're putting the cars more back to stock in a way because they're not spending as much. You're putting more in the driver's hands, in my opinion, that way. And I think that's what a lot of fans want to see, is they want to see more in the capable driver like Hailie Deegan as she goes up through the tiers and see how good she actually is, not how good is a Toyota or how good is a Ford.
Or how good
With-
is a sponsor? That's
Right.
That's what I
Yeah.
want to see, is less of that, where a driver can actually do something and make it up through the ranks.
Yeah, you were talking about putting the car back into the driver's hand and putting more control in the driver's hand. With this new car, it seems like the driver has to work more with the car than this past with the Gen 6.
The Gen
I
6
don't
as a
want to
whole.
make any adjustment. I don't want to.
Well,
We've
we're
only seen
basing-
like one video.
According to
from
what Joey
Phoenix
Logano and
going
Corey
into the
LaJoy
turn.
said, though, because there's a whole rear toe now. So, like, you not only have to worry about which way, as Corey LaJoy put it, the front tires are facing, you have to worry about the rear tires as well. So,
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I was listening to that. They took what would be a normal rear end out of them and made it independent, so now both sides do their own thing,
mhm,
which is making it more like a road car. That's what they're trying to do.
mhm.
You don't see any cars going down the road with a solid rear end in their car or anything like that anymore.
But the interesting thing he mentioned, well, and you gotta remember, they tested this at Phoenix with no other cars on track, but he said
Well,
that
that
with
was-
like the 2019 cars, if you get sideways, you just kind of let the air like straighten it out because the whole side skirts and just the way the car was built. But with this car, you actually have to save it yourself. You can't just rely on the air because it has
Which is good. You're
80
putting it
million
back.
pounds of downforce.
But
Yeah.
like you said, I don't want to make too much of a judgment on what they're saying before we see it with other cars. And right now, it's in such
It's such a beta
beginning
phase, yeah.
stages.
But
Yeah,
it is a good
it's-
sign.
It's a good sign. I'm excited, but I don't want to praise them, give them too much praise, because then they might stop making it better.
Yeah, that's gonna have to wait. I mean, right now, basically all they have is a car that kind of looks like a Chevy and is still being pieced together.
Well, I
so
think
they don't
the
know
reason it
what's
looked like a
gonna
Chevy is because they were using the one RCR built, and
Yeah,
Just
well,
use Chevy
that's
sheet
the only
metal.
one they have. Well,
I'm really interested to see what the OEMs do with the body styles. Because, like, you can't really change a Mustang too much, but if the car itself is shaped differently, it'd just be interesting to see how it looks.
As long as they don't slam it to the ground, that's all I care about.
If you looked
I
at
don't wanna
the
see
if you
it
looked at the
on the
Phoenix
ground.
footage, they are really high up,
Right, and
and it's amazing.
And as you can kind of see, as it goes down the straightaway, it looked like it raised up a little more, kind of like a super modified does. How it raises up going down the straightaways and lowers a little
That's
bit.
down going
So I
into the
wonder
corner.
Right. So I wonder if they use a little bit of, I think it's like the drag. I wonder if the spoiler that they're using in the splitter, if they're using that from the same idea of like a 350, the way they have their splitter and their spoilers and their wings. Although it doesn't have a big wing, it literally looked like a lesser version of a 350 or a big block also going down straightaway. It'll lift the front end up, and then as you enter the turn, I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but I think it's like the drag pushes it down, and it would be good to see if they took that and put it into cup, because that's kind of what it looked like on the one video we saw.
Oh, I expected Isaiah to have something to say about that.
I was being quiet that time.
All right. Well, since you brought up the 358 and all that in the first place, I guess we can move on to the next topic, which is the. Do y'all think NASCAR should implement more dirt tracks in any of the series? Anyone?
I don't think they should add more, but I feel like if they should maybe change the track instead of outdoor, because we've seen outdoor, what was it, 7 or 8 years in a row now, and this year it's been pretty boring, to be honest. It really
yeah, but
has.
that's not Eldora's fault. That's because
No.
the teams are building a car special for dirt now. They're not taking a mid-Ohio truck and putting it out there.
I think a lot of it has to do with the tire that they're using, also. That
It's
and the
not
way
big
that
enough.
they've kind of made it with them having windshields in the truck and stuff. They don't allow the track to be muddy like most dirt tracks are going to be at the beginning of the night, and that affects the way that the trucks can race. If the track's all slickened off, they can't really race like you'd like to see at a dirt track every Saturday night or whatever.
It's all the power to weight ratio is very off for that. You're throwing this huge piece of weight on a track, and it's not meant to go on a dirt track. They don't, like you said with the tires, it's not made to go around dirt. They're really not.
It sure looked like it went around dirt a lot better, or maybe it went around worse in that everybody was a lot worse at it, like the trucks were in the first couple of years because they didn't have this. I think what ruined it is all the teams putting money into building special trucks.
Yeah,
Putting all the team money, like, because I mean, to be fair, you had guys who had never really run dirt, but they were in top tier equipment towards the front because they had hired special dirt guys to come in and build the chassis for that one race. And that kind of ruined it in my opinion, because in the first couple of years you had guys like Norm Benning making a show out of it because everybody was on equal playing field, and I know you don't want to make everything too equal, but that first couple of years of Eldora was just perfect when they didn't have the special chassis to go out there and run it.
and your
Yeah,
dirt
some
track,
of the
your dirt track ringers could still actually do something then. Now you
Right.
can't really do it because it'd be cool if they would just make a rule. You have to run that truck on an asphalt track. Like take your Bristol
Right.
truck or something like that to the track. Because it just like
I think they'd be better off bringing like I don't know where I heard this, but they were saying the first couple of years they're bringing road course trucks, and it makes sense because it's higher off the ground and it'll take more of a beating.
mhm.
I don't think you could really bring your Bristol truck.
No,
personally.
you'd have to pick the best one, but it just to have a rule where you had to have ran that truck on an asphalt track.
Because then you have to figure out. Although I'll say this, because just being a devious thought is, what would make the teams not just make a truck for Eldora special, but go and put it out on an asphalt track at a practice and say, well, it was on asphalt.
Well, I guess then
Does it have to start a
that's-
feature? Does it have to start a?
Yeah, they'd definitely make the rule where it has to, like, run a race.
It would have to run a
Alright.
full race, I would say,
Alright.
because otherwise that would make sense because they would be trying to do that, but
Because every team would pretty much the week before put their car on, go out and do like one practice session, and then bring it to Eldora.
then
But
pull out their backup.
yeah,
truck
exactly.
instead. Yeah.
But
You said
I like that rule actually. That's a really good idea.
And the beauty
said
of
you
doing
didn't-
it that way is no team is going to sacrifice a race with the win in your in playoff format just to have a race truck that they could potentially win at Eldora.
Fact, I agree with you on that. I know they'd sacrifice a practice, but no one would sacrifice one race to go run a better race, except for lower level teams. You could see the team like the 63. I don't know who owns that brain fart at the moment, but you could see a team like the 63 that Bobby Pierce ran in go run a truck with Bobby Pierce at Texas. Say, hey, we're throwing this race away, but you're gonna have the best truck at Eldora, and that would be awesome because then you're putting the lower level teams actually at a better standard. I think you'd be
Yeah,
actually
until they
giving
wreck
them
a car that's meant for dirt at a track as fast as Texas, and they're really screwed.
Yeah.
Because they already
It probably
can't afford
wouldn't
it.
be Texas. It probably wouldn't be Texas. That was a poor example.
I mean,
But,
so they need to do something with it to fix that because back when it started, you had the dirt track ringers coming in, people would hire like Stuart Friesen or
Bobby
Bobby
Pierce.
And like with Stuart, it pretty much made his NASCAR career. They weren't going to run any asphalt races until after that. And now look at him. I mean, he was running for the championship last year. So they got to do something so they can get more guys in like that, and it gives people a leg up to try to get into NASCAR.
Yeah, Eldora is a great starting point. Like if you can get a ride there, and then they get you on television, you might pick up a sponsor. Eldora is a great starting spot to get into the top 3-tier series in NASCAR.
I'd like to see them do something like that with asphalt as well. I know we go to some short tracks, but I'd like to see maybe if you went to a Langley Speedway or South Boston or Five Flags, just to name a couple of the bigger ones that don't even have like a truck date. Because, I mean, can you imagine if a place like that got a chance? Then you have some local guy who runs there every week, give him a shot.
So,
I know that's pretty much the same as it's not really the same, but
There's
It'd be
something
cool to
interesting
see
about
more
that.
short tracks.
So it's not on the list, but it is on the topics list I've shown you guys, and it's about NASCAR potentially getting rid of the live pit stops. We'll go back to the dirt thing in a minute, but you just reminded me of this. I don't want to forget. So NASCAR might eliminate the live pit stops and probably the Truck Series, but potentially the Xfinity Series as well. And everyone is all up in arms about that. But if they did that, they didn't have green flag pit stops, and you can only pit like at a certain part of the race. Then they could go to tracks like Five Flags and stuff that doesn't have a freaking pit road. And,
it would open it up to all the short track racing, and that's kind of what a lot of people are calling for.
That is literally what the Truck Series began with. They had half
that's what it was supposed to be,
with tracks that Cup could not run at.
Yeah, I mean that could be a start for the trucks, but I'd also like to think maybe you just eliminate them for those races. I don't know if I completely want to eliminate them in total.
Here's the thing: if you eliminate live pit stops all season long, there's your cost cutting measures you've been talking about.
And basically, you can go.
That's different. Go ahead. I'll go into it in a minute. I don't want to go on too long tangent.
So, I mean, if you were to start running shorter racetracks also without your live pit stops, because you would kind of have to do that, it would lower the cost of these guys having to build super aerodynamic trucks also. They're not going as fast. They don't need the aerodynamics. So that would also cut cost like crazy.
Like fire trucks at Pocono or Michigan.
Or Daytona.
Yeah. I think they need to go to Daytona and Talladega.
I don't know.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Those are like the most viewed truck races. Like, they still got to sell it to the TV or to Fox.
Okay, well, maybe that's the most viewed now. If they're going to short tracks, that's going to be the highest rating. I bet you if you look at Bristol compared to...
You think a casual fan is going to watch a random race at Langley over Daytona?
Are we really trying to build a casual fan base, or are we trying to build...
eventually our hardcore fan base are going to die out. They're already like 60 years old, man. We're trying to get new fans as well.
What's the average age of this freaking podcast? We're not all boomers.
I don't know, man. I think you have to appeal to casual and hardcore. If it's one race a season at Daytona, but that helps bring in 4 races at a Langley or a Five Flag. Well, they only run one race at Daytona.
In Talladega.
Yeah, that's one in February, one in October.
I'd eliminate one of them, but
if we step away from looking at the fan aspect for a minute, the Truck Series is to prepare you for the next series. So you take away the pit stops, and you just work on driver skill. You don't have to worry about pit, and you don't have to worry about pit strategy. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just driver. You work on your setup before, and you just go after it. And then you go to Daytona, and that gives them practice for the super speedways. It just gives them more experience to go around.
Imagine if trucks had no plate races, and then Xfinity, they get thrown in there with actual pit stops and drafting. Oh, man, people would die.
I know it's a weird take. I'm not a big fan of trucks on anything over a mile and a half because the biggest race of the year should be Charlotte for them. That should be their Daytona at a mile and a half.
Charlotte
but I guess
sucks.
I'm only saying that that's their local track.
I'm not going to say I don't agree with that, actually. That sounds like they shouldn't. I think it should be the smallest series. You run at short tracks and you
that's what ARCA's for now.
Yeah, I suppose.
NASCAR owned ARCA.
Created ARCA for what the trucks was supposed to be, in my opinion. And ARCA goes to way too many big tracks, too. I don't know their schedule, but there's no reason for them to be on Pocono. Why are they at Pocono? That's stupid. You see those cars going down the back straightaway? It's like Broadway sideways.
Originally, ARCA was as big as NASCAR. And
ARCA was its own thing.
The same. But NASCAR jumped up and started paying way more and just built a much bigger empire than ARCA ever came into. Now they bought it.
Can the four of us agree there's no reason they should ever see Pocono, though? I mean, the yaw on those things was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You could see the numbers on the coming down that straightaway there. You could see the numbers at the screen as they're entering the turn before they're even turning because they're so crooked. That's just stupid.
Well, those cars are built so the driver is most of the way, like the cockpit is set off to the left side of the car, and it's not a centric car. And even the Cup cars used to be that way, but they haven't went away from that yet. Maybe with NASCAR taking over, it'll go away from that kind of car.
I just hate that yaw. It looked absolutely
That's
stupid.
why they looked like that.
If it's going to look like that, we just shouldn't put it on that track. Cause
which generation of Cup car was it that
Gen
they
4.
were doing that to?
Gen 4.
Yeah,
that was a huge thing.
Did it look like that going down the Pocono?
Yeah.
It looked
they
that
did,
bad?
completely sideways.
Yeah, there's a picture. from a Jeff Gordon car in the pits, like he's driving underneath like a bridge, like garages have like those bridge things.
Yeah.
And it's like from the back of the car, and like the damn quarter panel and all that's twisted. Like the
I
windshield.
guess
the back
that's
windshield
putting
ain't straight.
ingenuity into the team's hands. So I guess, but I don't know.
Like it looks stupid, but it helps the car drive a lot better.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the dirt track thing. So we kind of got off a tangent, a big one. But do you think that NASCAR in any series should go to more than just the Eldora and whatever ARCA East and West are going to run?
I'd like to see it up into the Xfinity series. With the Cup cars, I don't think it would ever work because you'd have to change so much. But maybe add it a little bit more.
Unpopular opinion, I don't like that teams have to spend so much money for one race. Like, they're going to have to build a whole new car for something that...
Well, that's what we've been saying.
Yes, I know, but it's either be super uncompetitive or just spend
so
money.
there need
Well,
to be
I'm saying
rules
if
put
they
in to
change the
get rid of
rules,
that.
then they shouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Xfinity go to dirt, and I'd like to see the trucks keep the one. I only want one date. Like, I think you don't want to oversaturate it. I think you said that to me in the middle of summer brace, and I thought that was a good take.
Yeah, like, so
I'd
what he's
move
talking
into
about
the
is
playoff.
during the Eldora race, we got to texting, and the Eldora Derby or whatever it's called, it's a fun race to watch, but if you are using that as your interpretation of dirt racing, then you just don't even watch.
Yeah.
Like, there's
I
so
went
much
twice,
better dirt.
and-
If you want to watch dirt, don't use that as like your standard. Just there's so much content on the internet. You can use literally anything. There's so many different series out there. And that's what NASCAR's putting out is their key dirt like race. And it's good for 1 year, but if that's what they're going to put out, it does need to be more than that.
Would you like to put it in the playoffs by chance, or are
God,
you against
no.
it? I'd like to see it in the playoffs. If you're going to put the Charlotte Roval in the playoffs, I don't see why you can't.
Well, the
put
reason I
Eldora
think
in the
that it's good to have
playoffs.
Charlotte Roval in the playoffs is because they already run a couple road courses. It would make no sense to have the one and only dirt track race in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
I disagree, because
Like-
then you're showcasing
Cup,
your
for
talent.
example. Well, I mean, if they don't already run there in the regular season, then that's just a random wild card that doesn't need to be there. People
But
complain
isn't
about
that what
Talladega,
Talladega is?
but they run 3 other plate races in a year in Cup. So, like,
Okay, but can you control when someone just has no talent when they get a bump in front of you and just hooks right and destroys the whole field?
well, I don't think that's like the point. Like, the whole point of a playoff system is it's a condensed version of the regular season to see who the best overall driver is. You have your mile and a halves, your short tracks, your plate races, and your road course. If you don't run a
So
dirt
put
track all
something-
season and then all of a sudden you run one in the playoffs when it actually matters, it just doesn't belong.
You could
So
put it
if
in
you
the
wanna do
playoffs
it
to
that
showcase
way-
your talent.
But
So
like,
if you want to do it that way,
Where you
Cody,
came
do
from.
put another dirt race. If you want,
In the
like you
regular
said, you
season?
want to do.
Maybe.
Do we,
if
do we put
if
one?
there's a dirt track in the playoffs, then I want like 1 or 2 in the regular season. Like, I
Yeah.
don't. If there's
I
not
get
already
where
one,
you're
then
coming
there should
from.
not be one in the playoffs.
No, but no, I understand that because what you explained the playoffs perfectly. That makes complete sense. But if Cody wants to have one in the playoffs, then we should put one outside the playoffs, but maybe put it towards the beginning of the season, like the 4th or 5th race in the season,
Mm-hmm.
and then you put the dirt
I like
race
that.
in the playoffs.
Replace Pocono with Eldora. I'll be happy.
I have a feeling you don't like Pocono.
I'm excited to see how the doubleheader does, but other than that,
I wish they would have picked a different racetrack for that.
I don't. It's
think
perfect. Now we don't have to go there
they're trying to
twice.
get it out of
It's
the
all in
way.
one weekend.
That's true.
They're contractually obligated to go there twice in a
If you-
season, so they're just gonna do it once in the same weekend.
If you look at it that way, I guess it makes sense. But
It'd be
I
kind of
wouldn't
cool
be
to go to
surprised
that,
if
but
they start doing that with like Michigan as well.
I don't know. I don't think they'll do that. More than you can't. I don't think you could really do that with that big of a track. I think your engine would be too likely to expire. I think we're gonna have actually a lot of engine issues at Pocono, more than people might expect. I think
It's like the same
plus or
distance
minus
overall.
on 4 or 5 motors being blown. Is it just
So-
they're doing like 250 miles each race? I know it's. I thought it was only. It's an extra 100 miles. Is
Dog,
it not?
both Pocono races combined is 800, and they don't run one race per engine.
I'm pretty sure they're supposed to run the same
No,
car.
I mean like in a
both
season.
days.
Like they make an engine last a ton of races, so like
But are they doing it the next day?
it doesn't matter.
It goes back to the shop. It gets tuned.
So they can last 600 miles at Charlotte, but they can't last like 500 at Pocono.
The other
I
issue
think there's
that-
going to be an issue with them stopping and going out and doing it again. You're
Lane
able
delays
to
work.
pull up and Okay, but you're not going to 50 each. I might be wrong. That's another hot take
All right.
that I think you're gonna have motors expire there.
I don't know.
So-
If it rains on lap 175 at Charlotte, and then the next day they do the other 375 or 275, whatever it be, there's not usually motor issues because of it.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I might be wrong, but I've never been 100% right in my life. So
Let's have the engine specialist speak.
I would assume that they will allow them to retune, because when you're running an engine at almost 300 degrees, like they seem to with NASCAR cars, it's gonna make stuff expand, and then they shut it all off, let it sit overnight, and this is after it ran a whole race and it's tuned up the whole race. It's not gonna run the same the next day.
thank you.
The weather's gonna change. They're gonna have to let them tune a little bit, but
But if they didn't tune them, you could see where I'm talking with the expiring.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm not out in left field. I thought it might have been. Brayson had me thinking it might have been in left field, but at least I'm in right field.
But he does have a point where when it rains out and they go back the next day, it doesn't. They don't have issues, so we'll just have to see what happens.
That's kind of a weird aspect I didn't really think of until right now. Is that at Pocono? Hey, did we ever even really talk about Hailie Deegan? I just realized we kind of jumped right over her.
We talked about the announcement, and then we talked kind of like what like.
Did we? Are we gonna go into what we think's gonna happen with her career?
I mean, we can talk about how
All
many
right.
years she might be in the series.
Let's
but
all
I'm
give
not
an
gonna predict
opinion on
wins.
what's going to happen with her career.
I think she's
Brayson's
gonna
go first.
she's gonna do 2 seasons in trucks, and then after that, she's gonna get put in Xfinity. Obviously, there's no way she doesn't make it to Cup. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
But is she successful?
I mean, I think it's too early.
The thing about her being successful is it all depends on how many wins she races, what she takes away from it. Because if she just wins on short tracks, I don't think she's gonna do a lot in her career. But if she wins at maybe a mile and a half, maybe.
So
But
if
right now
you
she
watched
doesn't
the
prove that.
ARCA season finale this past season, I think it was Kansas. She started dead last in that race, which was only 22nd, and she was in like the best equipment. But she did finish on the lead lap in 8th, so she showed
We'll say
major promise there. And she fell a lap down as well. I think like 2 laps down. She had like a blown tire, I believe. So
If she can win on short tracks, she'll have a long career, I think. Because
well,
they're
if she
looking
keeps
toward
wrecking
going
people for
towards
wins
more
in short tracks,
Now that's-
she won't finish
She
short
pisses someone
tracks.
off.
I don't. Okay, so
We saw that
said- I said
firsthand in
this before.
K&N this season. She got dumped a couple times because she tried moving someone and they dumped her the next straightaway.
I'm gonna say something that we talked about before. NASCAR died when Earnhardt died. Well, those fans.
I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about the drivers.
I know,
She got dumped.
but Dale Earnhardt got dumped too, and he still made it to Cup and won 7 titles.
You think Hailie
Okay,
Deegan
ever
can win
look
7
into the
titles?
Jeff-
Are you comparing
No,
Hailie
no,
Deegan to Dale Earnhardt?
No. I'm saying Earnhardt had his fair share of rivalries. You work through them, and you
He
can
also
still do
had
it.
the fair share of skill to back it up.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
not
like
saying she's as skilled as him. That's not what I'm trying to say. But to say that because she, and I mean Chastain's irritated people throughout his career. Yes, he can do it clean, like
But
we
he
talked
wins
about.
races.
Yeah.
Okay, and Deegan's one in her level that she's at.
She has.
I think she's. I
Like,
think
I'm not
she
saying
honestly.
she's talentless because it's too early to tell. But I'm just saying if she doesn't learn how to start winning without knocking the bumper off someone, and she doesn't go a full season without pissing a bunch of people off, she'd be a lot better.
Everyone says Chase Elliott is going to save NASCAR. He's bland. He's boring, and
And the ratings
he's
went up this year.
terrible with fans. He's terrible with fans.
I witnessed
Like,
that firsthand at Texas. He didn't sign one
he-
autograph, and everyone was
he
yelling his
is
name.
in a rush to get past everybody. Hailie Deegan is so good with fans that if
Yeah,
she
that-
is
that's
just
true.
if she's like got any talent and she goes into like ARCA, she wins. I won't say she'll win the championship, but if she does, who knows? She's in
If she wins
pretty
the
damn good
championship,
equipment.
I will eat like a sock. I don't even know, like, but I don't. I
Can
don't say
we
nothing.
write this down
Write
on
it down.
12/19 at 10 o'clock Eastern time? Brayson will eat a sock if Hailie Deegan wins the championship.
I said that at about 34:20 in this episode. If she wins the ARCA championship next year or the year after that, I'll eat a sock.
But if I think she, because like I was saying, I think she will rival Chase Elliott because Chase Elliott right now has the fans because of his last name and the number he was hand given when he went into Cup. I'm sorry, he got the Gordon fans because he gave him his number.
And he had the junior number or junior fans because
he drove for Junior, and then he's got his daddy's last name.
So we should move on because I don't want. There's a lot of Chase Elliott fans that probably watch this. So, like, no disrespect to Chase, but you can't dispute what we're saying.
Well, he's a very good driver. Probably top 5 talented driver in Cup right now.
That's pushing it. We'll say top 10.
So
you want to go into this? Let's go into this.
So let's
Hold on,
let's have a brief discussion
Chase
about
Elliott's
this.
fan.
No, like, no disrespect to Chase, but do I think Chase is more talented than Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch or Truex? No. So there's already 3. Do I think he's more talented than Kevin Harvick or Kyle Larson? No. He's already out of the top 5.
Okay, you're also the same person who gave me crap for saying Kyle Larson was one of the most talented drivers, and you say when he can finish a race, talk to me. That was
I did say that. Kyle Larson is talented,
and
but
you just put him over Chase Elliott.
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to bring us back to the topic here that had nothing to do with Chase Elliott. So basically, I think that she is going to calm down a little bit. Somebody eventually will shut her down. Because
maybe it'll be Kevin Harvick.
I was thinking more of a team owner, but a sponsor wants that billboard to be nice and straight so you can read what it says on the car.
But look who her sponsor is. Wouldn't they want a rowdy driver? She's sponsored by Monster Energy.
That's true. They may not care so much if the body gets ripped off, but they just don't want to be able to see what it was at one point. And a team owner it spends a lot of money on having a nice straight race car that doesn't get destroyed.
I mean, her team owner is David Gilliland. He doesn't know much about having a nice, clean race car at the end of a race, so...
He doesn't own cars in Cup, though.
Well, no, but when she takes over for Kevin Harvick at SHR...
Nah, I don't think she's taking over Kevin Harvick.
I don't know. The timelines line up pretty dang good.
You think Harvick's lasting another 5 years?
You think they're actually going to let her develop for 5 years?
I think that's the whole point. Like, her dad is very adamant about that. Like,
I would like her
she even said
but...
herself in an interview after the Ford thing, though it could have been empty words.
Come on.
But she said that she wants to take her time.
Yeah, and I'm sure Danica said the same thing.
No, I don't think Danica ever said that. Like,
no,
Haley's
Danica
been saying
said,
this.
I want to race a Cup car, and then came over and raced.
If Hailie wasn't worried about taking her time, I don't think she would have ran 2 seasons of K&N before jumping up. Like, she's only ran like 4 ARCA races. Like,
her dad has really been pushing her to work on her skill and hone her skills before she moves up. He doesn't want to push her before she's ready.
How long did it take Christopher Bell? You're Toyota guy. How long did it take Christopher Bell? Just out of curiosity.
To get the Cup?
So, from his first truck start to...
He made his truck debut in 2015, I believe. And then he went full-time in 16, 17, and then Xfinity 18, 19, and then Cup 20.
4 years.
Yeah.
5 years? 4 or 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, this would be good.
So exactly, that's...
I don't see Harvick lasting another 5. I see 2022, 2023 max. Because he's like one of the oldest drivers in Cup now.
I think when this new car comes in, you're going to see most of them leave.
Think of how often or how long people race. Not going to be
anywhere near the same.
Dale Jr. raced from 2000 to 2017. Harvick's been in it since 2001, man. He has 2 young kids. Like,
yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Keelan's want to start racing soon.
I wouldn't be. I think you know what would be cool is when we get to see like Keelan racing, Cash racing. I don't know Larson's kid's name.
Isn't it Owen?
Owen, yeah. It'd be kind of cool if some of them guys made it into like trucks and they were all racing each other, just because we got to see them when they were little.
I know we have the Burton and the Gilliland racing together.
I mean, you say that now, but you know, if you think back to it, some of the people have already said that, like the Chase Elliott kid, you know,
and
like
the Blaney,
Bill's kid, you know, they've said that, you know. So it's just the next generation you want to see racing against each other.
I could get behind that.
Well, since you brought up Christopher Bell, and this was on our topic list, what do you guys think of owners telling their drivers like, "Hey, no dirt racing," or like, "Let's just keep it in NASCAR"? Y'all think owners should allow their drivers to do outside the waters type racing?
I think as a race car driver, your only thought is to be in a race car. And you got however many months a year that you're not in a race car, you're going to want to be in a race car. So I would think that they should just let them do it. But
see, I agree for the off season, but if it's during the regular season and you drive for a big team, I can understand where the owner's coming from. Off season, have at it.
They put a lot of money into you to be their guy.
Like,
but
If Kyle Larson
Anytime-
is getting hurt out in a sprint car and the playoffs start in 3 weeks and he already has 4 wins, then like during the regular season, if you could not run anything else, that'd probably be better. But during the off season, just be careful.
But is the risk worth the reward? Because no matter when, if you step behind a car, or you step behind a race car, you're going to get experience, and you keep getting experience. So as you build that, is that like worth it?
Does driving a sprint car pay Kyle Larson's bills?
No.
Well, no, but
There you go. Driving
but
the
honestly, I
42
think
Cup
he
car
drives
is his
a
job.
5-year
car.
career.
And does driving a sprint car really help him the next Sunday? I'm sorry.
Especially
at
with
this point,
550 horsepower
No, it doesn't help him at
with
all.
a million downforce. Like, it's not even comparable. Might as well be driving a Formula 1 car.
In my opinion, somebody like Kyle Larson is cup racing so he can dirt race.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that's what they
that's
said Sunday,
100%.
Monday.
If here's like a comparison item. So say you're an electrician. Your electrical company doesn't tell you can't go out and do side work on the weekend. Are you an electrician during the week? Yeah. And why can't you go do it when you're on the weekend? So
Because an
why?
electrician doesn't get paid like $3 million a year.
No.
And they don't have other companies relying on them being in the car. the next week.
Actually, they have other contractors relying on them, but different point. We won't go into that. But
Like, Kyle Larson doesn't only owe it to Chip Ganassi to stay healthy. He owes it to Credit One Bank, McDonald's, Clover. God, what are his other sponsors?
but is he gonna stick with them if they tell him he can't run? I feel like you're
No,
losing
of course
top
not.
tier talent.
No,
If
yeah, of course not. That's probably why he won't go to Hendrick Motorsports, because Rick is not very keen on letting his driver do that.
but when Rick hands it over to Gordon, that's when he'll go over there.
Well, Larson's
He's
a free
already
agent this
started
year.
to.
If he signs a big contract this offseason with Tony Stewart, or next offseason with Tony Stewart.
Actually, that I could see that happening.
Like-
I mean, I know it's always been rumored because of the dirt thing. I could see that happening. Kicking Almirola out of the car and putting him
I
in.
bet it'd be Boyer, honestly, because I bet Boyer retires soon
No.
anyways. Like, not
I
even
don't
like
think
just kicking Boyer out, but I bet Boyer just retires.
I don't think so. I think Boyer's just about to hit I know he had a bad year, or not a bad year, but not one of his best years. But he was actually sneakily
He was SHR's
actually
second
pretty-
best driver, and it wasn't
yeah.
even close this year.
That's what I was gonna say. He was actually very consistent.
Yeah, everyone wants him out of a ride, but like he was genuinely good. He just didn't win.
I honestly think he's got another 3 year. I think him and Harvick could go out at the same time. If you think Harvick's going out in 3 years.
The thing is, Boyer's like what, 40? Harvick's like what, 44, 45? I don't see Harvick racing till he's close to 50.
No.
Why Mark Martin did it?
He did it in a time where it was a lot different of a sport.
I mean, it was only like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a lot different now. Like Dale Jr. said on the Joe Rogan podcast that if you miss like 3 weeks, you just start forgetting little things that you're so used to doing, and you already are at a disadvantage.
And honestly, was he that great while he was sitting there doing that for that long?
No.
I mean,
He was just
winning
piecing his
HM
career together at that point.
in his last couple of years. I'm gonna go to. You guys can keep going, but I'm gonna pull up his stats real quick.
He almost won Pocono in
I was gonna
2012,
say.
but I think that might be the closest he got.
He's also on a Hendrick car, and they were good. Back
That was
then.
2009. He retired in 2013.
Oh yeah, I forgot he ran.
Yeah, he ran for MWR.
MWR.
He drove the
Yeah.
55. Yeah, the car Brian Vickers somehow
What
got
year
winning in New
was
Hampshire.
he filling in for Tony Stewart?
2013, he
yeah.
had 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, and a pole. He led 98 laps, but the year before, he led 197 laps, 4 poles, 10 top 10s, 4 top 5s. His last wins did come in 2009, but to stay, he was sitting there doing nothing. 7 top 5s in 2010, 2 top 5s, and
He was
10
full
top
time in
10.
2010 though.
Yeah. And he was in 2011 as well.
Yeah.
He
So
was
that's 36
part-time in
races that he
2012,
wasn't in the top
2013.
five. Or not 36 races, he wasn't in the top 5, but that's quite a
But
few races to not
He had
be
10 top 10s and 2. I mean, you guys are looking at him as like an all-time great, but if you just look at him as like an average driver, he wasn't out there doing nothing.
Look at the guy that
was-
replaced him.
That
Look
was
at Casey
like,
Kane stats in that same car.
Yeah. yeah, Casey Kane was not very good, so let's pull that up.
I'm sorry for my boy Adam, but like it's just
I
true
was
at this
gonna
point.
say, bro, Adam is gonna be in rough shape here.
So basically, what you're saying is you would allow your driver to run dirt races whenever he wanted.
Basically, you look at Casey Kane, and he was a good sprint car driver back in the day. he went to Hendrick and stopped being able to do such a thing. He can't even, he's irrelevant at this point trying to sprint.
I don't know. I think he's having more fun. Oh my god, he's
I'm sure he is.
Is he still
Probably
on a
way
team?
more fun.
Yeah, his team won the World of
Yeah.
LS Championship this year with Brad Sweet.
His team is
I'm
great,
an
but
idiot.
him
Duh,
himself is not so
I'm
great.
stupid.
he did pretty good in 2012 and 2013, so he
Yeah, no,
did
he
beat
did.
out Mark Martin.
Yeah, he did
But
really
right
well in
after
2012.
that, it like fell off in 2014. He had the one win, but only 3 top 5s, 11 top 10s isn't awful. Better
And
than Mike.
2015, 16, 17, just
Yeah.
abysmal.
Hey, don't forget that win. I think it was at Indy.
Dude, that was like a really good finish though. Like that was like the best Indy
Yeah.
race in NASCAR history. Changed my mind.
Um,
To be fair, it only got good once Kyle and Truex kind of killed each other. But
yeah.
after that, seeing Jimmy go 3 wide with a engine blowing up on him.
I don't know if I'd call it the best NASCAR race ever. I mean, if
No,
you
at
let me
Indy.
say your thing.
At Indy.
Okay. I didn't hear you say that part.
Best NASCAR race ever is clearly the 2016 Daytona 500.
No.
Oh, here we go.
You're
guys.
a bit
Here we
biased.
go.
I was thinking maybe the 2014, but
Oh my god, I'm surprised you even knew who won that race, buddy. Good job. All right, so, yeah, I think we're already at 45 minutes. Might as well end it now. You guys got anything else you want to say? I know there's one more thing on our topic list, but we're running out of time.
I'm sure that one will wait.
Yeah. But if there's nothing else you guys have to say.
Wait.
we can
I have
just-
one more thing to say.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hailie Deegan will win a cup championship one day. And my last thing is adios, Daniels amigos. You guys are the best.
All right,
Not
so.
gonna lie, Suarez is great with his fans.
Dude, he is
really
really
is.
good with his fans.
At
Yes.
the racetrack, he was amazing.
He can
I saw
have
him,
fun
like, 3
at
times
the local
Washington.
short track with them. Because
This
he is
man
not
is
running
such a hater,
NASCAR
dude.
ever again.
He's just ousting this.
Okay, what has he done? I mean, I know we're wrapping it up. He
He
won
brought-
the Xfinity Championship. Yep. Okay, he did really good on that. I'll give him credit. In Cup, he had the best possible opportunity he could have been handed, and he blew it.
Well, he had a month to prepare. So,
Okay, what's your excuse for SHR?
SHR, he had 1 year and he didn't even run that bad.
I
Like,
mean,
he was
kinda
top
did.
15
He didn't
in
even make
points
the
all-
playoffs.
Okay, see, I hate when people. Okay, we're about to have a debate here. I hate when people throw in the fact that Suarez missed the playoffs and they praise Almirola for making the playoffs, but Almirola made the playoffs because he was so consistent at the beginning of the year and his points just carried him.
Guess what?
He was steadily
He made the
dropping in
playoffs.
points. Yes, Suarez was top
Guess what?
15 in points the entire season until like 4 races to go.
Until it mattered, until it counted, and he blew it.
Until a couple people got a couple wins, but yeah.
I'm sorry, he didn't make the playoffs in a format where 16 teams make the playoffs, and he didn't make the playoffs.
I think
That is
it was
abysmal.
a crew chief driver situation going on there.
And also, it's the first year with the team. Like,
Yeah.
Why are we making all these excuses for someone who just failed? Like, if it was,
I wouldn't
if
call
he
him
wasn't,
failing. I just think you dislike Suarez so much. Like, he didn't really fail. He didn't even get a fair offer. Every year he ran in Cup, it was with a new crew chief. Imagine going 3 seasons with 3 different crew chiefs. That's impossible to even get a rhythm on.
I'm
then
sure that was really
he
tough.
goes
I'm
into
sure
Jimmy
the
and
a new
drivers
team.
would
They
figure it
built
out.
their relationship and they ended up building better because they knew each other. Like, it's a serious relationship factor.
Like, to say he's talentless when I was at the Texas race and I saw him kick ass, like, even Almirola did good that race too, which was really making me angry because I am not an Almirola fan.
Because
But-
Texas, they do good over there at Texas.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous? Why are you a hater?
I'm not a hater. I'm just saying it's like ridiculous that the one race Stuart Haas does good at, it's the race I'm at.
Well,
And
if
for the viewer, Kevin Harvick is my absolute least favorite driver there could be.
Why is that?
Because he dumped Denny at Bristol in 2014 for the lead. And Denny was terrible that year.
Was he as bad as Suarez though? Probably not.
I mean, didn't Suarez beat Austin Dillon in points?
Probably. Austin Dillon is trash. Let's not
You
go
said
there.
it, not me. All right, boys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was episode 2 of the Race Day Bros podcast.
I'd like to say RCR is trash, not Austin Dillon. Let me rephrase that.
Isaiah and Nick, thank you guys so much for coming on board. And as always,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next time.